The second God opportunities is the God opportunity is when God opens new doors. And here's what I like about it, Bazan. The new door, the one door, becomes the many doors. One decision leads to so many other things. And you don't see it when you're on the other side of the door. It's not obvious. It doesn't scream to you. But on the other side of that door, there's so much. In in Revelation chapter 3, verse 8, listen what God says. He says, I know your works. I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. When God opens a door, nobody is going to be able to close it. They may not like you. They may not favor you. They may think you are the worst thing, but when God opens a door, nobody is going to shut it. Even the devil himself, he cannot shut a door that God's going to open. He can challenge you, he can press you, he can beat you up, he can make you sick, he can take away your resources, he can hurt you, he can beat you up, he can do whatever, but he cannot close the door. I prophesied they will never be able to close the door. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It says no one will be able to shut. The Message Bible says, I see what you've done. Now see what I've done. I've opened a door before you that no one can slam shut. God opens new doors. Doors of opportunity. When people try to hem you in and block you and stop you and frustrate your future. When people think that they are the God of your life. When people think that your life can be determined by them. Oh, God knows how to open a door. And the interesting thing is that this door of opportunity not only changes your life, but it changes other people's lives. Let me read you Acts chapter 14, verse 26-28 quickly. Paul recalls something. This is what was written by Luke, recording the missionary journeys of Paul. It says, from Attalia they sailed back to Antioch, where they had been committed to the grace of God for the work they had now completed. On arriving there, that's Paul and Silas, they gathered the church together, reported all that God had done through them, and watch this statement, and how God had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. Paul, we read about his conversion in the book of Acts, I believe it's chapter 9. He was a persecutor of the church, passionately persecuting those who were proclaiming the way in his words. And in his words, he says later, he even thought he is doing God a favor. Ignorantly persecuting Christians, killing them. The church at the time was locked up in Jerusalem. They were having excellent fruit of the ministry, but they had not fulfilled everything that Jesus had told them. Jesus had told them, don't only preach in Jerusalem, go to Judea, go to Samaria, but they were in Jerusalem. So when Paul came, the disciples were scattered everywhere. It's evident when you read in Acts chapter 8 that when Stephen was stoned, the Bible tells us that Paul was there overseeing the stoning of Stephen. That after they killed Stephen, they came and brought certain things and put it at his feet. But you know, it's amazing, Bazalana, how God works, that this murderer, inside this murderer, was an incredible apostle anointed by the power of God. And this is why, Bazalana, I'm telling you, we must understand God's ways are higher than our ways. We must always be humble enough to accept our humanity, that there are things that we will not understand at a certain time in history. Sometimes we speak too quickly. We judge too soon. We ostracize too quickly. We don't see when God is at work. And so God visits Paul, who was called Saul at the time, in response to the prayers of the Christians. So powerful was the power of God that it knocked him off his horse. And when he got up, he was totally blind. And then he goes to this particular city and he's blind, and God sends a disciple by the name of Ananias who comes, and when he prays for Saul, he says, "Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, who appeared to me, has sent me to you, that your eyes should be open." It's quite interesting. When his physical eyes were shut, he was able to see with his spiritual eyes the vision that God had for him. He says that I may pray for you to open your eyes, and also you're going to be sent to the Gentiles. And then we read in Bible history from that time, for 13 years, Paul sat under the tutelage of a man by the name of Gamaliel, being taught the law, learning the things of God, going to church, fellowshipping to the church in Jerusalem. He was being trained, because God never sends anybody out prematurely. God will put you in a training school, and if you jump that training school, you will never be able to do everything that God has called you to do.